So welcome everyone. Hi everybody. My name is Tamar Levine and I head the Department of Resource Development here at Weizmann Institute. Thanks for joining us today for another special Zoom meeting. This is another extremely emotional day for us all here, as you can all imagine, I'm sure, seeing or waiting to see the new group of hostages coming out of Gaza. We're happy for the hostages that have been released and for their families, but remain very anxious and determined to see all our hostages back home. So to our topic today, since the crisis began, the Davidson Institute has spared no effort to provide for the displaced families, both from the south and the north, some relief. And the Davidson experts have developed and implemented numerous activities tailored for these evacuees. Alongside these special activities or these wartime activities, as we say, the team is still committed to maintaining the excellent science education programs that operate throughout the year, advancing science literacy amongst school children, schools, and the general public in Israel. All of these initiatives encompass a variety of new educational endeavors, which Liat Ben David, Davidson Institute CEO, which many of you know, and her team, who are also on screen, they'll be speaking shortly soon, and they will all share with us today all of these very inspiring activities. As always, we do encourage you to actively participate, so please do send in your questions via the closed chat to the Zoom administrator, and we will best answer them as many as possible after at the end of this session. So thank you, and Liat, over to you.
Thank you, Tamar, and good evening, everyone. I want to thank everyone for your ongoing support. It's so good to see so many familiar faces on screen. Your ongoing support and continuous involvement is never taken for granted, and especially not during these days. And I have to say that although these are probably one of the most hardest times that I can ever remember, my report to you tonight is aimed at being a light in a very thick darkness, but it takes a candle not only in the wind, but to hold up and to see who we are and where we're going, to let our values path the way for us. So just to give a little bit of how we feel and what we've been going through, on October 7th, we all, every single one of us in Israel, Davidson included, faced a new situation that had several elements that I think no human should need to face. As the extent and content of the atrocities that we were subject to unfolded, they became the daily nightmare of each and every one of us, and they're still haunting us. Thousands of people, families, whole communities from south and north became displaced, traumatized, grieving and worrying, many with no home to go back to, and they will continue to be displaced for a long time. Fighting and attacks were continuous from south and north as well. Missiles were shooting over our heads until as soon as a week ago, less than a week ago, sometimes as frequently as hourly, and the luckier ones were attacked only once every day or two. We know that their renewal is only a matter of time, probably short time. Our family members, spouses, sons, daughters, friends, employees were deployed. Many of them still are. We're all worried sick, as Tamar said, for our hostages, and we still are. We also knew that there is only one reaction to this situation. We have to regenerate. We have to rise up and work very hard to make it better. In short, we all have to be phoenixes. At Davidson, we knew that we have a powerful tool that we are experts in, that will enable us to become these phoenixes. In a world that has become chaotic, our science education is one of the best ways we have to develop a sense of rationality within that chaos. In a situation that you're so brutally thrown into through no choice of your own, it's a way to take control on something that you can actually be active in. Through science experiences, we can offer a sense of achievement, of empowerment, a sense of success. And from all of that, resilience. We also knew that in addition to our professional experience, we will have to develop new antennas and feelers that are needed to work with children, families, schools, and even with our own Davidson experts who've been so badly hurt. For example, we quickly discovered that using regular, daily, everyday phrases, simple phrases such as, you can take your experiment home, or why don't you try this again with your parents, are now sensitive sentences that might provoke tears, and we can't use them. We understood that we have to learn a very new science education language. So we embarked on 3 directions. First, we established the Davidson Task Force, which immediately developed connections with displaced communities, the hotels and the towns in which they were evacuated to, as well as with communities that were badly hit but were still on site. Since October 8th, the day after the attack, we have been offering them ad hoc science activities that are performed by Davidson teams who go to them with all the equipment needed and with tons of empathy and smiles. Michal Topaz, who is here with us tonight, will describe her firsthand experience with this very soon. This task force is now also developing ongoing activities so that children, families, and professionals in these communities can develop a sense of continuity with familiar faces in a displaced and new world through science that is curiosity-based, engaging, and it's also fun that brings some relief. We're also attentive to many new opportunities that are rising almost daily, so that we're already preparing for the day after. Secondly, every activity that could be adopted and continued was used to create continuity with partners and participants that we've been working with for years, so that we can obtain a sense of normal routine. Routine is crucial for a sense of stability and safety for each and every one of us. Amedi, who is also here with us tonight, will describe in a few minutes how the Gap Year program, which many of you are familiar with, their alumni found themselves in the eye of the storm in the southern town of Ofakim, which suffered tremendous loss when Ofakim was actually directly attacked by Hamas terrorists on October 7th, and how this year's cadets, who luckily were home, rose up as both science guides of displaced children and as a program that continues proudly and successfully in many different places in Israel. And last but crucial, we continuously support our professionals, developing emotional, psychological, and educational tools that will help them cope with both our own personal situation, and each one of us has such a situation, as well as with the national one that we are experts in dealing with through our science education in many ways, so that we can help others who actually need us these days. I am now proud, very proud, to present Eli Amedi, the director of our Gap Year program. Eli, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Liat. It is very moving to see everyone here today and get the opportunity to tell you about what we are doing. So, hello to everyone. My name is Eli, and I'm the head of the Science Gap Year program of the Davidson Institute for Science Education. We established our Gap Year program for 2 main purposes. The first is to enable 12-year graduates in science majors from all over the country to develop their abilities and knowledge, both in the subject of science and in areas such as familiarity with the Israeli society, Zionism, democracy, and Jewish thought, and in the areas of social skills, responsibility, sense of competence, self-efficacy, and the ability to lead and leadership. Our second goal is the promotion of scientific education in the Israeli periphery, and therefore the Science Gap Year program is located in the city of Ofakim, which is located in the Western Negev in Israel. And the trainees of the Science Gap Year programs are volunteering in a very significant way in the education system in the city of Ofakim, and are engaged in teaching science, as they are qualified to do so by the Davidson Institute. In the 4 years that we have been operating in Ofakim, we can see a very significant impact on science education in the city, which has grown greatly in all aspects, the number of science classes and supply of science programs in the city, for example. On the 7th of October, the city of Ofakim suffered a very severe blow when 50 of the city's residents were brutally murdered. As Liat said, about 30 of the science gap year program graduates were in the city that day in order to celebrate together and meet. They barricaded themselves in our houses for over 30 hours and were then evacuated. Of course, due to the security situation, we could not operate in Ofakim since then. In the first 2 days after the 7th of October, we contacted the Science Gap Year program staff, all of our trainees, and all of our graduates. We checked how they were doing and whether they or their families were harmed in order to provide the initial support to everyone. We held Zoom meetings with both the Science Gap Years program trainees and its graduates, including the graduates who experienced October 7th in Ofakim. After these checks, in which we discovered that some of our trainees and graduates had to evacuate their homes, and some lost relatives who were murdered or kidnapped, we began to think about how to return to activity. We returned for a few days of volunteering in the city of Dimona, where we mainly worked in cleaning and evacuating shelters in underprivileged neighborhoods, which suffered from decades of neglection. We evacuated about 30 shelters. After that, we moved to a temporary residence in Jerusalem. We got a sport hall in a high school in the city. Our students slept in sleeping bags on the floor and went out every day to volunteer in special needs created by the war. We mainly dealt with supporting children who were evacuated with their families from their homes. And we gave science lessons in the hotels where they were staying. But we also cleaned shelters in Jerusalem, reinforced missing hotel staffs, and delivered e-learning classes to children of Ofakim. After 2.5 weeks in Jerusalem, we were very happy to move to the Davidson Institute's youth village that was reserved for us for a month. This allowed us to work closely with the Institute's employees and to volunteer with them in hotels in Rehovot and in Tel Aviv, to go to work in agriculture. And especially, we were happy to be able to invite the students of Ofakim and Netivot to come to scientific happenings days at the Davidson Institute, which were run by the trainees of the gap year programs. For the students of Ofakim and Netivot, this was usually the first time since the beginning of the war that they left Ofakim and Netivot, and among the first departures from their home in general, after the war began. I am very proud to say that in the period since the start of the war, the gap year trainees have acted in an exceptional way. Everyone worked very hard, and our common goal was to remain to be as significant as possible and to rise up as much as we can. Our trainees received lots of compliments everywhere we went, and they connected with the students they met and really did their best. And now the security situation allows us to return operating in Ofakim. Therefore, during this week, all the trainees of the gap year program and its staff are returning to the city. Our plan is to be more active than ever throughout the coming year, since the needs in the city increase greatly due to the situation. It will be necessary to strongly support the formal and informal education system in the city and to help the residents of the city. And this is our mission this year. Now I'm happy to hand over the permission to speak to the gap year graduate, Yahiel. Eli was in Ofakim on October 7, with his friends, and he will be able to tell us about it. Today, Eli is a soldier in the IDF. Eli, please.
Thank you, Eli. I'm Eli Yahiel. Today I'm a soldier in the Israel Air Force, and I'm going to tell you about the experience we had on the 7th of October. So, a bit of background: it was like a reunion holiday because it was in Simchat Torah. It was a reunion holiday where all the years could come and meet up and talk and just have a great time. And it went well. And then at 6:30 in the morning, the first alarm started. So we got up, confused. We got down to the basement, which is a safe zone in the house. And we stayed there for about 10 minutes as per the guidelines. And it ended, and we got back, tried to sleep, just something that happens. And then another alarm, and then another one. And we started to realize it's something else this time. So we gave up on going to sleep. There was no point in trying. So we just stayed up and waited for the next alarm. Some of us stayed in the basement, and then we started to get all sorts of rumors about terrorists infiltrating Sderot and Netivot, and we were a bit confused because it doesn't really look real. It's like, well, that didn't make any sense. How would they get all the way to Sderot and Netivot? It's like, it's a city. It's very, very unlikely. We thought it was probably a fake or something, but then the more believable news came from more credible sources, and we started to realize that something very big is going on. And some of us got scared. Some of us got, especially the ones who are soldiers, we realized that something is going on and we're probably gonna get called to come to the base. So we try to think about ways to how to get there. And then we got the notice that there's suspect that they are terrorists in Ofakim. That was very surprising, to say the least, because Ofakim is not far, but you wouldn't think that terrorists would get all the way there. And we got the guidelines were to, okay, everyone in Ofakim, go to your shelters, go to your basements, and just stay there until new notice, because that's the safest thing you can do. So we did. We just went down to the basement and we blocked the door and just sat and wait. Thought maybe it will take a few hours and then everything will go back to normal. And in reality, it's then we realized that there are terrorists in Ofakim. It got a bit scarier that we thought, well, something might actually happen. We stand there. Most of the time we talked, we played board games, we tried to pass the time without thinking about it too much, without stressing out. Just bonding. We tried to be there for each other. And luckily there was a lot of food that was in the basement, because that's where they kept the food. So we got biscuits and chocolate and stuff. And every once in a while we went up to the kitchen and brought some stuff to eat. The cycle was something like every half an hour, there was an alarm, not just alarm. We stay in the basement, then we check. All throughout the experience, the staff of the gap year program was in touch with us and kept in touch and asked if everything is okay, and they kept giving us updates about the situation, which was very hopeful. You could feel that there's someone there with you that cares for you and wants your best. And we stay there, and as the time passes, the stress builds up, and we hear rumors about terrorists in the neighborhood we're in, and we get a bit nervous, and we hear a sound, and it's, oh wait, is this something? Is this not something? The atmosphere is pretty stressful, as one can understand. We try to calm each other. We try to distract ourselves. At some point, some people fell asleep. Some people just stayed to themselves and didn't do anything. Someone cried. Someone helped him. It was a interesting dynamic. It was not the usual thing that one needs to deal with. So it went on throughout the day. We did some more stuff, and as the evening came, we realized that maybe we're not going home today. We don't know how long this will take. So we arranged the basement so we can sleep in it. We got some mattresses. The trainees of the current year helped us a lot and just gave us everything we need. They told us you can take everything you need, mattresses, sheets, blankets, whatever you need, you can take. And over the night, we had night shifts. So there's always someone awake and alert just in case we don't know what happens. At this point, there were still terrorists barricading themselves in a house with hostages. We didn't really know what's going to happen. And that's how the night went. You wake up, you sleep, you wake up to your shift. After the night, which most of us didn't really get a good night's sleep, as one can understand and see why. And we woke up, we had some breakfast, some cereal and milk we got from the kitchen. We barricaded all the doors and the windows. It was like a whole operation. And in the next day, which was Sunday, we basically just waited for the announcement that we can leave, that we can go home, everyone to their home, to the IDF because they were called. And we waited and waited, and every time it was like, maybe in 11 a.m. we'll get the notice, maybe a bit more. At around 12, around noon, we got the notice that we can leave, and everyone in the three houses that we were in got out of the basements very quickly. Everyone divided into the cars. Everyone, which the one they could go with, and we just drove away as fast as we could, and everyone happily got home safely. And yeah, that's how it went. Thank you.
Thank you, Eli. That's an experience that will probably stay with all of us for a lifetime. I would like to say, as Eli said, we have a group working this week in Eilat with some displaced families. And one of the things that we've noticed is that the teenagers usually don't come to our activities. It's the young kids and the parents, many times if there are parents, but the teenagers who passed the COVID-19 crisis and now this, usually they stay in their rooms. Many times it's very difficult to get them active. But when the gap year trainees went down this week, one of the first things that we noticed was that the teenagers, the 15, 16-year-olds, were coming for the activities for one of the very first times. They see someone who is close to them in age that they can actually talk with and who understands who and what they're going through. And for us, that's a very important, I'd say, sign that it's working. We are getting them engaged and getting them out of the shells and into some kind of routine through engaging them with science and with these amazing youngsters who are really, our hearts go out to them. So thank you, Eli. And since October 7th, Dr. Michal Topaz has been literally working 24/7 with displaced families all over Israel, children and communities everywhere. I have no idea when she sleeps or sees her own two twin girls, but I have no doubt that those two girls are very proud of their mother as much as we are. And we're very fortunate to have Michal here with us tonight and part of Davidson. Michal, it's yours.
Thank you, Liat. Thank you so much. I have to say that after Eli's story, I'm very stressed and very tense anyway to talk and tell about our story. But Eli, you're so brave, and your whole group is so brave, and thanks for telling your story and for telling everything. What I wanted to say is that it's really difficult to start telling the story about our activities in the hotel with the displaced families, just about as it's difficult to tell the story of Israel in the past almost 2 months in general, because our story is divided to so many different parts. And the truth is that every week, and actually every day, and actually every different activity is so different from each other. I guess that's exactly the hardest and most complicated thing in these activities, or in these days in Israel in general, and in our activities in the Davidson Institute as well. We work with groups that are originally very different from each other. Their everyday, their community lives, their socioeconomic status, everything is very different. But now they're divided to other different parts. These are people that have been, well, all of them has been through a certain kind of hell. Some of them were evacuated from their house because there were too many missiles around the house and it wasn't a safe place anymore, just like Ashkelon, the people coming from Ashkelon. And they don't know when they're coming back, but it could be tomorrow, and it could be next week, and it could be at the end of the war, and no one knows. But it's unbearable to be in a hotel, to continue your own life when you know that you at a certain point you have to go back to the place where you don't feel safe at the moment. On the other hand, we have the people from very close to the border, most of them from the kibbutzim like Kfar Aza or Nir Oz, and also from Sderot, from the city of Sderot. They were evacuated from the house because hell got inside their houses. So they literally can't go back home because most of them don't have any homes anymore. Like Liat said before, we cannot give them a giveaway after the activities because they don't have any place to take it to. Their house were burned or broken or destroyed, and some of them were there to see it, and some of them they just cannot go back. And other part of the divided groups that we deal with are the people evacuated from the north, which on 7 October, the horrible Black Saturday, they weren't part of this, the war zone, but their house is a war zone at the moment. It's a closed military zone, and they cannot get to their houses. So a lot of people from a lot of parts of Israel are coming at the moment, and what is common to all of them is mostly the uncertainty. They don't know when or where or to what they're going back. And to those people, to those civilians, we offer scientific activities. And I have to say, as a science educator and worker at the Davidson Institute, I keep asking myself, why? Why are they coming? Or who can concentrate in a science activity in such a chaos? I can't really understand even why we keep on waking every morning and going to those hotels to speak to them, because who can concentrate on, who can understand anything, or why would they come? But surprisingly, or maybe it's really unsurprising, they come again and again. They come to each of our activities. They feel our activities every day, every single time, no matter which activities we come with, or no matter to which part of or which divide or group we're coming to. Obviously, our goals in our activities are very changed from every day. Our goals are very, very different. We don't set the goals to high level, high standard science activity. At the moment, our goal is sometimes just to give the parents, if there are any, as Liat said, just to give the parents an hour of relax, knowing that the kids are at the moment in a good activities.
Interesting. Ted did
we have to, we sometimes have to be very flexible with both our goals and also our methods and our activities. We can go with a certain activities and see that the people over there that just yesterday were very, very good to a certain activity, this day it's whole different. They feel different, and we have to be as flexible as possible with everything we bring them. So I can tell you a bit about the first week, the week of October 7th, at which we arrived to the hotel in Shfaim, where most of the people from Kfar Aza are in at the moment. They suffered. No one can even start to understand what they suffered. And we met them just a few days after the horrible Black Saturday. And what we experienced there was so difficult. Older people, parents who came to us, and they looked broken, and they looked like their body language was limp. They could hardly lift themselves. They could hardly hold themselves upright. And they came and they just sat there, and they talked about things that we really weren't ready to hear, the talks between themselves. And it was unimaginable to see those people, to hear them talk. And then, as I said, they looked broke. They looked like broken people. And then the kids were there, and they were happy and playing, and they were playing football on the grass, and they were excited about the many celebrities who came to see them and to meet with them, and they ate all the candies in the world, and they were so happy to do scientific activities with us, and they were happy to put on a neuroscience glasses to see the world upside down and play soccer with it. And they were happy to prepare with us scientific ice cream, which made them jump and run around. And they laughed so much. And the parents, they sat there and they watched the kids do scientific activities. And it was okay. It was okay for them. It was okay for them that the kids were feeling something good, and sometimes the parents even played along. The kids made, I will never forget the look on the face of one of the parents. He was holding a gun, and he was sitting next to me, and he didn't speak at all. He didn't make any noise, any sound. And his kid, probably around 8 years old, he came and lifted him up, and I thought the father was gonna fall down. And he lifted him up, and he made him play soccer with the glasses, with the upside down neuroscience glasses, and the father played soccer. And that was amazing. And one of the girls, she was probably 14 years old, she told me she really wants to come and join us in our activity because she loves science, but she's afraid she's gonna miss one of the Israeli celebrities that are coming, one of the singers, very famous. And she made me promise her that I'm going to sit there and look at the door, and if I'm going to see him coming in, I'm going to tell her. But until he's coming in, she's with us. And that is sort of the part of the thing that is complicated in this situation, because we have so much different competitions. Some of them are very very attractive, like doing your fingernails and manicures and seeing the celebrities, but still they come to work with us in the scientific activities. And that I think is amazing. Boys and girls that sometimes the parents really, they look like they actually actively need to think about breathing, and they come and they work with us. And then from that week on, we continue to going to different hotels. In different hotels, we see different groups. And we spread out through all of the hotels in Israel that we could find. And some of the participants are very well focused with us. And some of them stays in the room, but then they come, or some of them here when we come, they come to the to the activity. And I remember the week after that, that was probably the third or fourth week of the war. we were in a hotel in Tel Aviv. And in Tel Aviv, when we hear a siren, we have 90 minutes to go to the shelter. Now, I live in Tel Aviv and I have 2 girls, and 90 seconds, not minutes.
90 seconds.
My God, 90 minutes. Whoa. We have 90 seconds. So at the first few weeks, none of us could breathe, and none of us could work, could concentrate in anything. And I remember one of the activities we came, and we wanted to do chemistry activities, and there were quite a lot of kids over there, probably around 20 kids. And one of the moms from one of the kibbutzim in the south, she came with a laptop. It was a Saturday. She came with a laptop. She opened and started working, and then she came to us. I was with one of the researchers from Weizmann Institute. She came to us and said, "Thank you for giving me some time to work, and I can concentrate fully now." And I was like, "Well, that's no way," because none of us could work in anything. None of us could read or write or do anything in these times. And then she said, "Look, Tel Aviv, for me, it's like a vacation. For you, 90 seconds to go to the shelter, that's like you have to go crazy. But what I'm used to is 7 seconds or 15 seconds. That's what I'm used to. And now, if they give me 90 seconds, I can do so much work. I'm so relaxed. My kids are relaxed here because we know we have so much more time." And that gives you some perspective about the way we the way we feel about the war in sort of, we'll say, it's not safe anywhere, but it's so different from what their everyday is like in the South before the war, and hopefully that will end soon. So our activities, we try to give them as many hands-on activity, hands-on science, because we know that concentration is not the best one at the moment for no one. And in my everyday, I work in sustainability education, in the sustainability education field. And the main activities that I present to those people, to the people that I come to, is preparing a terrarium, which is plants in a jar. That's very easy, very uncomplicated activities that we can talk about water in the world, we can talk about plants and botanic, and it's amazing to see how the simplicity, these simple activities of planting plants inside a jar, that might take people, that allows them to concentrate relatively long time, for 20, 25, and even 30 minutes. We see both the children, but also the grown-ups coming and working with the plants and cutting them with scissors and fixing them in the jar and organizing everything, and also taking the jar back to the room, because that is something that they made and they can keep at least for the moment, and they know that it gives them something of their own, which it might be surprising for some people, but I have to say, for us, I don't think it's very surprising. There's nothing like nature to help concentration and calmness, and we try to bring them in our scientific activities, also nature inside the hotel and even inside the jar, and that just open and join parents and children activities. So yeah, we give the parents hours of quiet, and we give the children some gross motor skill and fine motor skill, whatever the laboratory tools allow us, and we try to we change our methods and our goals, not so much to teach them at the moment science activities, but to open the curiosity, because we are fully convinced that one of these days they will remember the activities and the tools, and they will be curious whenever they'll be cognitively ready. They will ask the right question and they will come back.
Thank you so much, Michal. That was amazing. And Eli and Eli, I want to thank you and all the Davidson professionals who are really doing an amazing job. We're already looking at opportunities for the day after, as I said, working with the different communities and our different programs to make them sustainable and ongoing, because this situation, these challenging times aren't going away very soon. And I have to say that I feel that when I look at what we're doing, and what you've heard tonight is just a sliver of what we're doing, I feel that we're very lucky to be science educators in at this time, because we're the carriers of optimism and logic in a world that has become very confusing and chaotic. So I can say with as much confidence as can be in this situation that we're indeed phoenixes who answer evil and pain with values of good and growth, literally growth, as Michal said, rising up and already looking ahead that are already to opportunities that are already unraveling. So I want to thank everyone for standing with us and for your continuous support and hearing us today. And I know that Tamar has that there are some questions or maybe things that are of interest. So we'd love to answer anything that we can.
So thank you very much. Thank you all for your participation and your questions, and a big thank you to Eli, Michal, Eli, and Liat for being with us
Thank you all.
this evening or this morning. As we end this session, the latest group of returnees, 9 children and 2 women, are being checked in hospital, and it will appear that we are on the way to a further 2 days of the pause in the war and additional hostage release. I'm sure you will all join me in hoping and praying for the safe and speedy return of all our hostages. Thank you for joining us this evening, and good night from Israel, or good day to the rest of the world.